Hello, everyone. My name is Alison Hayes, and I have functional neurological disorder. You can see my shirt also says FND Hope, functional neurological disorder. I'm on today because today is April 13th, is FND Awareness Day. And I want to share a little bit about what FND is and how it works, because there's a lot of people who do not understand it, and there's a lot of confusion and myths around it. So, FND is functional neurological disorder. It's an umbrella term used to describe any set of neurological symptoms that don't align with the standard diagnoses. What do I mean? Because that seems like a lot of gibberish. Basically, a person with FND has some symptoms that would be described as neurological, because they are. In my case, it's predominantly muscle movements. So like my hand holding a weird position and getting stuck there, things like that. But it can literally be any neurological symptom. And each person with functional neurological disorder may have a slightly different symptom set. In my case, I primarily have movement symptoms. So it's about different muscles not doing what I tell them, or doing things that I didn't tell them to do, like my hand clawing, or sometimes I'll be limping and dragging a leg behind me. Muscles will stiffen, muscles will stiffen unexpectedly, will loosen unexpectedly, or will just move unexpectedly. Like my whole arm will just fling out, or my legs will collapse, all kinds of different things. The key thing about it is a neurological condition, even though many neurologists don't know a lot about it, and it's not something that shows up on your standard medical care scans. So, for example, one of the symptoms that many people with FND have is non-epileptic seizures. With epilepsy, a person who has epilepsy, usually, if they have an EEG attached to them while they have a seizure, this different form of brainwave activity will be very apparent through the EEG. A functional seizure, also referred to as a non-epileptic seizure, the person's movements or lack of movements will be the same. It'll feel exactly the same as an epileptic seizure might, but if they're attached to an EEG, none of the brainwave activity that lets people recognize epilepsy occurs. There's a little bit of agitation, but it's not the big EEG going nuts that most people would expect. In my case, I have these muscle movements that occur, but there is nothing wrong with any of the muscles in my body. There's nothing, if they do a nerve conductivity test, I'll come out normal. If they observe things, I'm going to look okay. That doesn't make it any less real. This is where the problem comes in. Functional neurological disorder was known as conversion disorder. Conversion disorder, if you look it up, is a psychiatric condition where a person's brain converts the stress and trauma of their life into these neurological symptoms. In my case, the conversion disorder diagnosis fits relatively well. My symptoms were triggered by emotional trauma, and my symptoms are most apt to react when I'm feeling strong emotions or emotional stress. That's how it works for me. But other people who also have FND might have had a physical trauma, like being in an accident, or even like being anesthetized for a surgery, a very physical thing, or a viral infection. And they came out the other side of it for whatever reason with neurological symptoms. And there's some people where their experience is there was no trauma at all, and they just out of the blue started having these neurological symptoms. What they know about FND is that the part of the brain that's actually damaged, and they can see this using functional MRI, or sorry, fMRI. But using fMRI, they can see that the part of the brain that lights up when a person with FND has symptoms is the part associated with control, with knowledge of control, which means whenever I have symptoms, there's kind of a short circuit between my brain and my body. There is nothing wrong with the nerves themselves. There's nothing wrong with the muscles. What's happening is, if you want to use a computer analogy, there's nothing wrong with the hardware, but there's a software problem. There's a glitch. And that glitch occurs whenever your brain hits a certain trigger or a certain threshold. The problem with getting diagnosed with FND is actually that the shift in the name and understanding of it only occurred about 15 years ago and is still going. It's a severely under-researched condition. There's less information about it than there are about most other neurological conditions, even ones that are much less common. So, for example, people know more about fibromyalgia than they know about FND. The two are actually somewhat related because both are about the central nervous system being somehow overloaded and sending out inappropriate signals. Fibro, to my understanding, is also a condition where the central nervous system is having a software problem, not a hardware problem, which is why anything can hurt with fibro or other reactions. And with FND, it can happen, my symptoms can happen anywhere in my body. In my case, my body primarily expresses with these movements. Other people with FND, their neurological weak point is seizures or paralysis of a particular part of their body, or difficulty processing certain information. I now also have sensory symptoms. So a section of my leg is almost constantly numb. There's nothing wrong with it, but the muscles in that area are tightened as if to protect the area, but there's nothing wrong, and the muscles haven't learned how to loosen back up. I also have sensory symptoms where my sections of my back feel numb, like I've fallen asleep. You get the pins and needles feeling, but it's just in this like quarter-sized section of my back. It just happens sometimes. And that's what I'm dealing with in living my life. Too many neurologists haven't done their research or are extremely uncomfortable talking about it. And so when they see a patient with these symptoms that don't align with the standard diagnostic process, they kind of throw up their arms and either go, I have no idea what's wrong, but that's admitting ignorance, and many don't like to do that. Or if they've heard of conversion disorder but aren't aware of the current knowledge base, they'll say, oh, you have conversion disorder, go see a psychiatrist. And that's their entire solution. What actually needs to happen is people with FND need to be seen by neurologists who are aware of the condition and who can monitor it. The big thing is FND symptoms can change over time. They can get better, they can get worse, and they can actually change from one type of symptom to another, depending on how the person with the condition is responding to it and how their brain is processing information. For me, I had a shift from the movement symptoms, which are still what happened most of the time, to adding in sensory symptoms. Other people with FND have all different kinds of symptoms that impact their lives and can shift from one area of the body to another, or one entire set of symptoms to another. And we need to be seeing neurologists who get it so that they can help us whenever there's a major symptom shift, test to see if what we're experiencing are new FND symptoms or symptoms of some completely different condition. This is a condition that requires constant monitoring, like many others. And anytime we have new symptoms, we need to double check with the doctor to see if these new things we're experiencing are FND or something completely different, because there's nothing to say that we can't develop another condition. I actually have been living with FND for 20 years, but I also have migraines. I also have visual snow. And these are other kind of separate neurological conditions that have their own treatment or lack thereof and their own process. So I want to say happy FND Awareness Day. And for everybody who has FND, I really encourage you to find a doctor who will actually be helpful for you and find treatments that work. There are treatments out there now that can be very helpful for managing FND. I'm actually going to be doing a talk all about FND, understanding it and understanding how it works. So if you're interested in that, I'll put in a link, and you're very welcome to come and join me. That course will be on Wednesday, the 27th at noon. And you are April 27th, and you're very free. It is not a free course, but if you decide to register for it, you can ask questions. I've set it up in advance. I'm planning it out. So basically, I'll be speaking with whoever purchases this course for an hour about FND, how it works, how it can be treated, and how to find the right doctors to work with. And then I'll have a half hour open to answer any questions that you have about your own personal situation with FND. So please join me. The link to participate is in the chat. And I hope to see you. FND is such a weird condition, and so many doctors don't understand it and don't know what to do, that it's really, really important for us as patients to be aware and to know what to ask and know what to look for. So I'd love to have you join me. Please register. If that link doesn't work, just go on to my main page, thrivingwhiledisabled.com, and there'll be a banner on the top with a link to the sales page as well. I hope to see you there, and I'm so excited to share what I know about FND, because it's so frustrating to struggle for answers, and it's so frustrating to look and not be able to find somebody who's actually going to be helpful. I'm here. I want to help. So I hope to see you there. Thank you so much. Happy FND Awareness Day.